I hope viewers will bear with me if I just take one example. There are 11 measures of whether the attainment gap is closing. Now, we got updates on 3 of them this week to do with attainment of school leavers. One of those was the number of pupils leaving with at least one course or more at level 6. And the attainment gap closed between students from the least deprived areas and the most deprived areas. But the reason it closed is because both the least deprived and the most deprived students did worse, but the least deprived students did even worse than the people from the most deprived areas. Now, you can then say, aha, the attainment gap is closing, but everyone doing worse, but rich kids doing worser, isn't really what people had in mind when they talked about closing the attainment gap, is it?
Well, the attainment gap is a huge challenge, and let's not forget that it's a poverty-related attainment gap. And this is very much to do with poverty in our country. And while the Scottish Government is introducing measures to tackle that in terms of free school meals from primary 1 to 3, the introduction of the new child payment.
Well, I know what they're doing, but the point I'm making is, again, it's the point that Lindy Patterson has made about the PISA figures, is that you can look at some of these and say in some ways the attainment gap is closing, but when in some areas they're only closing, it's only closing because those from the least disadvantaged backgrounds are actually doing worse. Yes, it's technically closing, but everyone doing worse is not what we want. That's why I said, is closing the attainment gap diverting attention from what's happening to the system as a whole?
No, this is absolutely about fairness in the education system and trying to provide the best opportunities for all our pupils.
Yeah, but doing that doesn't mean everyone does worse. Which it does in some measures, and this is not the only one.
It's not the only measure, and what we have to do in the attainment gap is look at the other challenges that people are facing. It's an incredibly difficult situation for families in poverty, and that is exacerbated by the policies at Westminster, such as universal credit and the chaotic rollout